Hello there, right here we got a brand new snapshot for 1.19, the wild update. This is 22W18A. With it comes changes to allays, wardens, and even some new commands. So leave a like and make sure to sub as it is free and only less than 30% of you have so far. First up, they made allays much better. They're now able to follow the player even without having to see it. And they're now able to go after the player if he's within 64 blocks of them. So we don't have to worry about the allays getting stuck behind stuff, or for the most part we don't have to worry about them getting stuck behind by traveling kind of fast. So far they've been developing the allay in such a way that it is getting better over time. If you guys have any other suggestions, let me know in the comments. They also updated the Warden's particles. So it does its sonic boom. It actually looks pretty cool. First having a little one shoot out, then the vibrations expanding outward. The update came with some technical changes as well. So for data packs, you could come in and give special items a banner tag. We also now have an option for controlling the chat types through servers. So the type of text that people see on screen can be formatted, such as italics or special colors, so that everybody on the server sees the same thing. Last week, we seen them add the cryptographically signed messages when talking between players in Minecraft. They also add this for the commands of say, message, team message, and me. They also redid the place feature command, so now it's just called place, and you can choose between features, jigsaw, as well as structures. You go to structures, you can see we got all the different structures in the game to choose from that you naturally find. So I went ahead and generated an ancient city, and let's see what it looks like. So it looks like we got the portal placed right here, and there is everything part of it. So now there's actually 3 portals in this area where there was 2 before. So it does actually place it in, but it has to be in the right location. So if you're going to try to do an igloo, it's not going to work because we're not in the proper biome, the proper height and location. Which is a bit annoying for testing. It'd be kind of fun to be able to put structures anywhere, but at least this part works, which is cool. Now for features, there are all the different types of vegetation and stuff you can find in the world. From ore deposit to tree clumps to veins. It's all part of the features thing and you can actually generate in. So since we are in a cave, I can spawn in cave vines so you can see the different types and variations that can be formed. So this is a cool way for people to spice up their builds. When they're in creative, they can easily come in with features or structures without having to place it in all manually. And it can be okay for testing as well. Now under jigsaws are the same kind of names which are used to place in different individual pieces. You can see in ancient cities that it's not just one big ancient city, but there's different parts. There's entrances, city centers, the walls, the skulks, the structures, and those are all the different pieces. Now for the jigsaw one, it's a little bit more confusing. There's a pool tag as well as you need to tell it which jigsaw it needs to start with, as well as a maximum number of connections that it can have. But in general, the place command looks like it's really nice. For the loot tables, they also have a new function, which is set instrument. The game can randomly choose which instrument it's going to be based off of a selection. They removed the loot table function for set goat horn sound. And the bundled Java runtime has been updated to 17.0.3. They did a few more tweaks to the warden, including that it will no longer hear mobs while it's dying, keep trying to attack creepers that have already exploded, attack mobs that are already dead, or if it despawns, or if the player leaves a dimension, leaves the chunks, or logs out. They fixed the warden's attack no longer continuing when the game is paused. Because the warden attack will just immediately go to the player and do damage, it was actually going through dimensions, which it no longer does. They also have it so the warden no longer gets overwhelmed by tons of mobs attacking it. The Allay mob also got a few changes. It will now keep the items that it picked up when the world restarted. Allays will no longer get confused with different types of NBT items and won't try to pick them up anymore. They're also now able to also pick up items even if they're on a leash. And the person who added this photo to the bug report even put in a little sign that says, "Hey, RaysWorks and Exumavoid," probably knowing that we make snapshot reviews about the bug changes. They now added it so the Allay will stay really close to the player, just like in Bedrock Edition. Recently, Bedrock Edition also now get spectator mode, just like what we have here for Java Edition for many years. So it's really cool to see parity going both directions. They fixed the Sneak 100 advancement. Now the grammar is correct, as well as it will no longer go off for shriekers, just skulk sensors. If there is more lichen on more sides of a block, when you go ahead and break it with shears, you get more pieces. This addition has now been applied to the new Sculk vein blocks. The catalyst will no longer produce sculk blocks for baby mobs because they don't normally drop XPs when they die. Now in the past, TNT that was just lit with like redstone and that blew up ores used to drop XP orbs, but now it no longer does that. This same thing also applies to the sculk block. So when it gets blown up, it doesn't drop XP orbs. This change was added in the last snapshot where using flint and steel from the player will make it drop XP orbs. Now I feel like stuff like ores or stuff like sculk blocks that actually have the XPs contained inside them should drop it no matter what type of TNT or explosion is used on them. This is probably done to try to make it consistent with mobs, because when mobs die, if they die by non-player means, they don't drop any XP. But if they die by player means, they drop XP. What is your guys' opinions on this? They are looking for feedback. It's understandable that they're trying to make it consistent, but this does make automation for like collecting XPs out of Sculk a lot more difficult, because you can't just have TNT blow it up. You have to actually have the player break it or use his personal lit TNT in order to get the XPs off of it. Otherwise, you could like push this stuff into like a wither and the wither could break it and you can get the XP orbs. Sculk sensors got an upgrade where they'll now be able to detect which noise is closest to them if two of them happen at the exact same time. Where in the past, they would accidentally both listen to one noise, where you can see this sensor here heard the noise and says the noise is really close, where this guy hears this noise too and says the noise is far away and was completely ignoring this one over here. Some ancient cities were being completely submerged, which will no longer happen. The goat horn image will no longer be sitting over top of this delete item button. And giving yourself a different goat horn sound variant will no longer crash the game. Frogs got the addition of being able to move their legs as fast as they move about. So if you give them like speed, their little legs will move much faster. Snow layers can now be placed on top of mud just like they can on top of soul sand. Planting the mangrove trees down low was still causing leaves to oddly spawn way up in the air. There was a bug where players' UUID and single player was being changed. That's been fixed, along with now players' skins will load. That's why my skin wasn't showing up in the previous snapshot review video. A couple other bugs were fixed, including SRV records, DS stored files for data packs, and an exception for creating and opening worlds. Also, I made this Warden farm. This is the same design I showed before, just updated it so that it works with the newest changes. So the Warden first spawns here by the Shrieker because the player is standing on top of it. It keeps going off until it summons a Warden. The Warden spawned on top of the sign. It can't spawn on top of this because there's a wall there. Then it falls down here. It's captured in this little holding thing where we have a bunch of minecarts and wither roses, where I showed in the past that these can be used to kill it. And then we collect all the loot once it dies. And now, since it drops catalyst, we can now actually make ourselves a simple Sculk catalyst farm. But you would have to build this in a deep dark biome where there's already one, because placing down one of these shriekers by hand won't produce wardens. I'll do a full tutorial on this once the update comes out, so you guys can see exactly how to build it up. Make sure you subscribe for that. Now come join my Twitch live stream, link down in the description, where you, the viewer, can join me in game as we test out the latest changes. You can find the IP to the server in my Discord, as well as everything you need to know about it. Thank you all for leaving a like on the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!